J-E-T-S,
Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
and the home of the Jets.
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Mr. Will Parkinson, what is up, my friend? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Sorry about that. My trying to find the link in my email was taking me. I was acting like I was a boomer there, and it was unfortunate. But appreciate you having me on.
Well, first of all, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, and you come with some very high accolades here. The chat is talking about how you're an excellent guest, the best content around. They're excited for this. So I'm not sure if you feel pressure or I feel pressure, but this has to be really good, man.
No, I don't feel I perform better under pressure. That's where I make my money.
So first question I have for you is, what made you a Jet fan, man? Like, how'd you get involved in the world of the Jets?
So I don't know. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I ended up going to training camp. My grandpa actually passed away a couple months ago, but he ended up he had designed the West Side Stadium. Funny enough, and so it wasn't then, but like he eventually designed it. But went to training camp, and I was like 4 years old. I got this Keyshawn Johnson picture. And I was like a 4-year-old kid, you know, when you're looking for favorite players and stuff like that. And I don't know, wanted to play receiver ever since, and love the Jets, you know, for better or worse. So yeah, it's weird. A Keyshawn Johnson picture to $1, you know, at a tag sale, you know, when you're a little kid, and you know, it goes from there. But yeah, and then, you know, kind of just blossom from there. Obviously, you start meeting the players or watching games and practices, and you start loving the sport, and you know, it only kind of grows from there.
So now, what is it like being like a diehard fan of the team to actually have a chance to cover the team and talk about it, having a huge platform?
It makes it's. I would say it's an interesting. You kind of have to just try to stay balanced at all times. I think,
Sucks, right?
yeah, it's, you know, it's tough. I try really hard not to be too hot takey or too, you know, I know there's enough of that, you know, whether it's fan base, some people that cover the team and things like, yeah. But you know what? I think there's, you can be an educated hot take is very different to me than just screaming into the wind, this guy sucks or this guy's the best player ever. I try really hard to, you know, just use, you know, I played football in college. I played my whole life. My whole family's played football their whole lives. Like, try to use my knowledge of the game a little bit and try to just provide some type of like level-headed insight into what's going on. But at the same time, like, don't get me wrong, there's guys on the team or there's players you root for a little extra hard, or there's games where you're like, oh, this would be fun. You know, I had Ian O'Connor on, you know, this afternoon, and he said, he's like, I'm not a Jets fan, but you know, you're not supposed to root for a team. I'm rooting for the Jets. He's like, because the best story out there right now would be the Jets winning a Super Bowl. He's like, I've never covered it, and I truly feel like we're in a kind of a nice spot, you know, as Jets fans. The Jets haven't been good in a while, so them doing well is actually really good content. It's not like you know, the Patriots or Chiefs right now, where like they're looking for a downfall almost. Everyone's looking for the Jets almost to take off, and they're going to be, you know, they'd be the biggest story on ESPN and all these other places people don't, you know, complain about.
Yeah, it's like, I give you guys a lot of credit, man, because like, I'm just a fan, and like, it's so like, you watch, like, you want to see a team win so bad, and we've been through so many hard times and down times and seen so much nonsense. Like, it's hard to not go off the rails. You're like,
it's really hard.
Right? It's like, so I give you guys credit because, like, on this show, we don't care. We just blow the channel off. We don't care. But like, for you guys, and you gotta, you know, you give like very, you know, excellent insight. You know, you have a football background like that, but it's like, you get so frustrated. Like, why are we this incompetent? Why can't we go to playoffs? Why can't we return to the rest of the NFL? Like, why can't we just be relevant? And now we are, which is super exciting, man. So now it's like, you're happy to talk Jets football. You're happy to watch football again, which is a nice, refreshing feeling, right? Yeah,
no, it's awesome. Look, I think, you know, it's they're a team last year that showed you a lot, especially early on in the year. I think last year was that bit of more of a roller coaster ride than I think we were all expecting. I think it actually ended up kind of going in reverse. I think going into the year, everyone kind of thought beginning of the schedule is brutal. They're going to struggle early on. They might start, there was people thinking 0-7, 1-6, 2-5. They obviously start 5-2, 7-4, and the wheels kind of fell off. I think having some stability at quarterback, whether it's just this year, I think it's going to be, 2 years, maybe 3. It kind of feels like 2 is the sweet spot with Rodgers. Now you can focus on the other stuff. We're having conversations of, on Twitter of what guy's going to make the 53, and it's not this guy needs to be an impact player as the 53rd guy on the roster. It's, we really like this guy, this undrafted receiver, this undrafted defensive tackle. It's just like you're rooting for these guys as opposed to, the storylines are there with quarterback or Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, or Sauce, or CJ. Like they have a bunch of all pros on this roster. I think the biggest issue I had with the Jets the last, 6-7 years, you can really only point to a few guys who were that all pro, level player. The middle of the roster was always okay. Now the middle of the roster is getting better. It just felt like they didn't have a lot of blue chip guys. Not that Madden means anything, but like no one would go on Madden and go play with the Jets, right? Now, they've got some really key pieces. There was an article out, I think, on ESPN.com, I believe, yesterday or 2 days ago. Seth Walder, who some Jets fans don't like, and I get it. He's a little critical of the ABT pick. But he said the Jets have like the top 8, core in the league, and that's based on age, and that's including guys like Mosley and Rodgers. So that means, people really think this core is awesome. I think that's the biggest thing I'm excited about watching this year is this is probably the best core they've had in a really long time. And there's a lot of young guys, and they should only honestly get better. You assume Sauce, Wilson, Hall, Michael Carter. These guys are only going to continue to get better. Elijah Vera Tucker as well.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, this is like the Jets have elite talent for the first time in forever, man. Like we always crying, like we need game-breaking talent, not just guys like elite. Like you have to be hold other teams accountable with our players. And one of those guys is Quinnen Williams, who right now is currently holding out. Obviously, you're not really missing anything. That's no big deal. I think it's not really a big story until training camp starts. That's when you start getting a little nervous. Like, all right, you want him in the mix. And to me, this contract should have been done already. I think the longer they wait, the more money he's probably going to make. But what are your thoughts on Quinnen, man? Do you think he's earned that big-time contract, and will it get done?
I think it'll get done. I think it gets done sometime this month. I think you'll see the Rodgers restructure get done. I think you'll see the Quinnen Williams extension, and then I think there's one more move. I don't know what the move is, whether it's a Dalvin Cook, a Quan Alexander, it's John Johnson, Adrian Amos. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think there's one more move. The Corey Davis pay cut's also probably coming. Here soon. I know they've talked to him about Mosley getting restructured. Yeah. I know fans want that number to be down this year. The more you restructure it, the longer, like you're going to have to pay the piper no matter at some point. Yeah, so if you cannot restructure Mosley, it might be more ideal. That means it's not, you restructure him this year, it means he's under contract not only for next year, the year after, and he'll be, 34 by that point. I think Quinnen's earned the contract. I think my biggest frustration with Quinnen going into this year was even last year had that really strong stretch to start the year. I think he had 7.5, 8.5 sacks or whatever it was. And then he didn't have a quarterback hit after week 9. This is 2021 or 2022, whatever. Last year, I felt like he started to bring it, and he started to bring it on a weekly basis. Even the games where he didn't have a sack, he was impactful. Like he strung together 13, 14 straight games of really impactful play. Yeah. Missed the 1 or 2 games, comes back and was impactful again. So I'd say he's earned it. Look, at some point, you have to pay the homegrown guys. It would be a really big shame. I don't think it's going to get to this point. I'm just saying I think it'd be a real big shame if you look at all these guys they've drafted in the top 5, top 10 over the last 10 years, and no one's gotten that second deal, I guess, except Mo Wilkerson, right? He's the only one that got. And Mo Wilkerson was not a guy that was known to work hard, was not a guy that was a great culture guy, kind of flashed only the 1 year before the deal. Quinnen's been awesome, in the locker room. He's a guy that he's well-liked. He's great with the fans. He's like, I just think those are the guys you pay because at least, look, if Quinnen goes back to like not quite as good as last year, and he's maybe a 10-sack guy, there's not that many 10-sack guys like Dexter Lawrence. All these guys got paid a lot of money Deron Payne had like 1 year. Like I'd worry more about that deal than Quinnen. So yeah, I think it gets done. I think it'll get done this month. It just, look, the Jets. I talked about this a little earlier today. They're paying. I know the deal is going to get restructured, but Woody Johnson, now not saying cry for a billionaire at all, but he's forking up a lot of cash out of his pocket for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's hard to sometimes stomach, hey, we haven't even seen it on the field yet, and now I'm about to pay another $65-70 million in guarantees to defensive tackle. On top
he hasn't
of
paid shit in the last decade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like it's a tough balance, right? You kind of look at it and you're like, I see the point, but at the same time, you get this done. I don't want it to go into camp. That's the one thing that I'm. Yeah, me too. It could go up until July 16th, the day before they report. I don't care. The day they report to camp, you want Quinn in there. Last year was the first time he had that full off season, full training camp, not injured. There's no new defense, new nothing, and he had the best year of his career. So you hope you get a full Quinn Williams for a full training camp. The Jets obviously start camp earlier than everybody else. So again, I think he's earned it. Again, would I like to see another year? In an ideal world, of course, you'd like to see one more year of last year's play to pay him that much money. But all those other guys in his class got paid. That's part of the problem. And and at the end of the day, the Jets have, I think, the best one of all of them. And I'd like to see that get done. He's the key to that defense. As good as Sauce is, as good as Mosley, and as good as some of these other guys are, when Quinn's wrecking games, he makes every Jones job a lot easier, and they got to hit the quarterback with rushing 4.
No, 100%, dude. I think, and also when you have Saleh praising him endlessly, Joe Douglas praising him endlessly, so it's like going back to the Rex Ryan days where he's praising like Revis all the time. Like you're going to praise him, you got to pay him. And I think,
Saleh's like it's getting done. They have no leverage, right? They have to get it done.
Yeah,
no, they have to get
distraction. It's just unnecessary distraction. Like you said, everybody else in this class got paid. Everybody expects it. The team is watching. The young guys are watching it. Take care of one of your own. Now, the other big story going to training camp, I think, is going to be this left tackle position where Mekhi Becton, wants to play there. I think Robert Saleh is kind of giving the hint, like, this is Dwayne Brown's job to lose. It's Dwayne Brown's job. And then how does Becton handle that? So how do you to me, it's like Becton was doing a really good job of rallying everybody around him by losing all this weight, being great on social media. It was all fine and dandy until about 2 weeks ago, until this stuff started. And now people are like, hey, dude, because Dwayne Brown's like, he's a very respected leader. He played with a torn labrum last year, has the award he got, the Selfless Warrior Award, and Saleh speaks so highly of him. And if they're truly playing the best 5, Dwayne Brown's got to be the best 5, but he's not playing the right side.
Yeah.
So how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I just think my thought process was like, if they're bringing Brown back, which he came back obviously post-labrum, as you mentioned, post-labrum rotator cuff, like that's at 38, 39. I know you're big, your UFC and all that stuff, like that doesn't heal that easily. And the fact that he went and had surgery at that age, he could have walked away. He's made a ton of money. The Jets obviously did make the playoffs last year. Like he doesn't need to prove anything. He's been an all-pro before. For him to come back to me and to play through that last year, it means that's his job to lose. Look, could he come back from the shoulder and be awful in camp and we have a different discussion? Sure. But I don't foresee that happening. They're paying him a lot of money. I think he's the starting left tackle. Mekhi Becton would have to be unbelievable in camp, and Brown would have to look like dog shit to me for that to change. I think Tomlinson's slated at left guard. That's not going to change. I think Tittman's going to win the center job. They tried as much as everyone said they needed center. They still took a center pretty high, right? Like he was the first center to go. Still took him in the early 40s. I apologize. I don't think you take that guy to sit there and develop him. I think they think he's ready to play. McGovern, they're not paying a lot of money. He's secure. Maybe McGovern's the one to start camp. I just don't see Joe Tittman's a better football player. I think he'll be a better football player if he's healthy. My thing is, AVT is going to play one of the 2 right spots. I assume he'll play guard, but if Mitchell and Becton have struggled all during camp, did they say, AVT, you play tackle, and we'll, Wes Schreitzberg, who they got from Washington, or one of these other guys, you play guard or something like that. I don't know what they'll do there. I'd love to see Mekhi Becton win the job. I think he'd be great for the Jets. He's obviously a first-round pick, and you'd love to see him, and he's also this weight. He looks great. He's incredibly – him and AVT are super talented. They'd be so fun to want to watch run block. Again, I really want to see Becton do it. I just I'm not putting my eggs into all you can't put all your eggs in that basket. That's why you have to hope a Mitchell takes a step or Billy Turner does a decent job in camp. He's played with Rodgers before. I think that right tackle spot's the only one that's really up for grabs. I know center's up for grabs, quote unquote, but again, like I mentioned, just invested a really high pick in Joe Tittman, and McGovern, frankly, wasn't that great last year in the back half of the year. He's a guy that's good when everybody else is good, and when everyone else is bad, he kind of he seems to kind of rise and fall with the way people play. So again, I think it'll be Brown, Tomlinson, Tittman, AVT, and then I think it'll be one of the three of obviously Turner, Mitchell, and Becton. I hope it's Becton. If it's the best five and Becton has a good camp, he should start. But we haven't.
Do you think he'll be a problem though if he's they say, listen, man, we know you want to play left tackle, but you're playing right. Do you think there's any scenario where it could be a problem? Like, I want to be traded. I want out of here. It'd be kind of disgruntled.
It could happen. If he thinks he's having a good camp and he's he's looking good, I think that wouldn't happen until the end of camp though, only because with these new rules where no one gets cut really before the last week before preseason ends. The Jets have that fourth game, which I don't know. I know it's cool for the fans, and I'm excited for the Hall of Fame weekend. I don't think the players are that thrilled about having camp start a week and a half early and having to play an extra game that doesn't matter. Again, it's good for some of these young guys. The Jets have some young players that I think it's going to be great for Zach Wilson. He's going to play a gazillion snaps against the Browns in the Hall of Fame game. Yep. Becton's a guy that maybe if he doesn't win the left tackle job and puts great tape out there during the preseason, the Jets, maybe they get an asset for him. Maybe they get a day 3 pick, and it could be more if he plays a certain amount of snaps. I don't know. I certainly just hope that doesn't get in the way. I think this team has got so much potential that if you get a really good Mekhi Becton, outside of Rodgers playing like MVP Rodgers, that might be the biggest thing they could get, right? All of a sudden, your offensive line, if you get AVT and Becton going, Tomlinson looks pretty good, better, more like the player he was the previous few years. If Tittman's pretty good, Brown looks decent. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey, man, this offensive line might be at the 13th best unit instead of the 20th or whatever it may be.
Now, you mentioned Tittman. Did you prefer him as the best center in the draft, or did you like JMS better?
So I thought JMS was a little bit more of a clean prospect. Tittman's had both his shoulders done, which was a little concerning. And the only other thing for me is he's a huge center. He's 6'5", 6'6". He's a huge center. He looks like he's built like a tackle. That said, some of the powerlifting numbers, guys that generally guys that can power clean and back squat like that, and bench press like that, I have no issue in terms of flexibility and being able to bend. I watched JMS at the Senior Bowl. I liked him a lot. I think Tittman's a much better athlete. I think JMS is a little bit more technically refined. So I didn't really have I didn't have a strong preference. I just wanted them to grab one of those two centers or grab a guy like Avila or somebody else that was more of a guard than a center. I just thought they have not really truly addressed center in a long time. Better than anybody. The Jets run from 98 to 2012, even 2015 was kind of anchored by two Hall of Fame level centers. And those offensive lines, a lot of the pieces moved. Center was always, we have one of the best 5 centers in football. I don't know if Tittman's ever going to be one of the best 3 or 4 centers, but look what the Chiefs did with Creed Humphrey. They get a guy in the second round, they plug and play, and that offensive line got instantly way better from the Super Bowl to the year after COVID. So I hope Tittman can, if you get Tomlinson and AVT playing well, they should be able to help Tittman from a protection standpoint, other things. He's got a veteran quarterback too. Even at Corey Linsley, look at guys that have played with Rodgers, right? Linsley got paid record money from playing with Rodgers for 1 year. So, I like Tittman a lot. I think athletically, I think fans are going to like what they see. A little bit more Mawai in terms of his athleticness than maybe a Mangold, who is technically as good as it gets, everywhere.
So you go with the offensive line, which we have high hopes for, especially if Becton comes back. And then I think the Jets going to want to obviously run the ball. And Breece Hall obviously showing good signs. To me personally, I'll keep saying it, I'm not rushing him back. The goal is not to be ready in September. The goal is to be ready in December, January, playoffs, make the run. That's when you want to see him. So if you're saying that, behind him you have Michael Carter, you have Bam Knight, you have Izzy. You also have Dalvin Cook out there as a free agent. To me, I've been saying, I wanted Fournette for a while now, man. Get me another veteran running back, kind of What are your thoughts on the running back group? Are you looking? Do you consider a Cook, or do you consider somebody else, or are you comfortable?
Yeah. So I'd want to know what's the realisticness Brees plays week 1, or is he? It's like I don't want him to rush him either. I'm not. This is not the same injury, but you look at James Robinson. He got cut by the Patriots. Today had the Achilles injury, came back way too fast, ended up getting hurt, and now his knee's shot. And I don't know if he's really ever going to get another shot in the NFL. Maybe he gets one more shot, but his knee's cooked. And that was a guy 2 years ago who was a player that we felt. I think everyone in the NFL was like, this guy's pretty good. Even the Jets traded for him. Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe they have something here. That's not what's going to happen to Brees. Brees looks obviously fantastic. He's an alien level athlete. Even if he's dressed for week 1, I don't know how much he's going to play week 1. Maybe you see 10 carries. Maybe you see 1 or 2, plays out of the backfield. I hope that's the case. If they go out there and rush him 30 times in person, 30 times on week 1, I think that's malpractice.
I agree.
I'd go after Dalvin Cook. I don't see why not. To me, I don't know. He's 27, going to be 28 years old. Had 1,000 plus, 4 straight 1,000-yard a year seasons. Dalvin Cook at 150 carries is a damn good player as your running back too. That's probably the best running back room in the league. Yeah. Now all of a sudden there's a lot of pressure. Rodgers used that 2-back system a lot, obviously with Dillon and Jones in Green Bay. Going way back with the Ryan Grant years and stuff when they won the Super Bowl. Fournette's not a bad option either. Again, these are guys that maybe they're here a year, maybe it's 2 years. Fournette's probably a 1-year guy, but maybe early in the year he's your third down guy. Everyone got mad at me on Twitter. I don't think Zeke's anywhere near the player he used to be.
Nope.
That said, he's amazing in pass pro. He's awesome in short yardage and the goal line. And the Jets are historically the last couple of years atrocious in the goal line and atrocious in short yardage. So I'd like to see them bring in one more veteran, especially if Brees is not 100% to start the year. You're relying a lot on Michael Carter, who had a terrible year last year and is still a young player. Bam Knight's going into year 2. He's a guy that flashed decently. I thought, he had a bunch of missed tackles, but again, after that Buffalo game, didn't quite look the same the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you felt like that as well. And then, you got Travis Dye, Izzy Abikania. Like, Izzy might be awesome. He's got all the tools to be really good. He's also a 20-year-old. It's like he's literally 20 years old. I think I can't remember. I don't want to, misquote anybody here. I don't know who had the article out. I believe he's the youngest player that ever played for the Jets.
I think so. I think
that's
right,
that's it. I don't know if you want to put all that pressure on him, week 1. So Dalvin I think he ends up in Miami. I just gut feeling. I just feel like it makes sense. That said, I don't think I'm pretty positive the Jets' interest is at least real enough. They're doing some digging there, right? Like, I think that they're not. Salah's answer was like classic Salah. Like, I'm not saying anything, but I'm also telling you we're not interested. We're just like, Hopkins, he shut it down. There's other guys he was like, we're turning over that stone and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But again, Dalvin makes sense. Fournette makes sense. Zeke to a lesser extent, I guess. Michael Carter hopefully has a much better year. Last year was definitely disappointing. I felt like he was a guy that didn't look as explosive. He had some touchdowns against, I believe, Miami. I think Buffalo had another one. But he had a big fumble against the Bills. It felt like the Bears game. Everybody else played well in the Bears game, and he couldn't break a tackle. So I don't know what happened last year with him and Elijah. Like, I felt like last year they kind of both. I don't know if they got sensitive. They drafted Wilson and Hall. I don't know what's going on. Kareem Hunt's another name. I don't know why Kareem Hunt's still out there to me. I know people said that maybe there were some people, at the combine stuff, he didn't look that good last year. He looked like he lost a step. I don't know. He's still 27, 28. Like, if he's not your lead back. Of course, he didn't look good against Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's probably the best pure runner in football. So, I think the running back room is good. It's a very good room. But it's a very good room when Brees is healthy. When Brees isn't healthy, is anyone really scaring you? I think there's some good players, but I don't think anyone's like Dalvin Cook. At least you go multi-time Pro Bowler, fully healthy. He could rush for 100 any day, and I think that's add all the talent you can. Right, you're all in, so might as well.
That's where I'm at. I'm all in, dude. This is a big year ahead. Don't pinch any pennies. Like, just bring in talent. So we talk about running back. The wide receiver group is interesting because they went after OBJ. as you mentioned earlier, they shot down Hopkins. And to me, it's like, not to be a negative Jet fan, but like you're one Garrett Wilson injury away from being a little bit uncomfortable. Like, and I know like Lazard is good, but I think he's being made to be out much better than he really is. Denzel Mims, whatever. Corey Davis is still here. Is he still going to be here? Like, what are your thoughts on the wide receiver group? I still think they need to add somebody, dude. Am I crazy?
No, I don't get this. I don't know. Like, they have a lot of the same right now. They have one guy who can do everything in Wilson. They have McCole Hardman, who's can do everything, but like he's really your gadget / explosive play guy. So he's really, I know he was the Chiefs' number 2 technically at a lot of points last year. He's really a 3 to me, ideally, right? Like he's kind of your guy that's like not going to get a bulk of targets, but he's a guy that's going to make the most of them. Lazard and Corey Davis, awesome in the run game, possession guys, jump balls, whole thing, the kind of prototypical X outside receiver. Like you said, though, you're one injury away from Mims having to play, which is a disaster. Yep. Jason Brownlee, who's going to be on the pod in a couple weeks. That'd be awesome if he makes the team, and it'd be great if him or Cap, the young kid out of Kutztown State, or like that's awesome if some of these guys make it, right. Like that'd be fantastic to see. But again, you're trying to win a title. I don't know that that's who you want. That's not sure you want to be leaning on that. Look, the Odell thing, I think the Jets may have dodged the bullet. You look at his market and the fact that no other team, the Jets are the second highest offer, and it was not even half of what the Ravens did, should tell you that I don't know what the Ravens were doing. I think they wanted Lamar back so bad. They were just like, we got to do something here. Would he have been awesome with the Jets? Yeah, I'm sure he would have been, because he would have been their second or third guy. Like, that's fine. But I don't know. Some of the clips you see of Odell running, I don't know if it's the camera, but he does not look that fast. Like, he looks like he bulked up, and that's great. Sometimes you lose a little bit, especially when you're turning 30 off a second ACL. Yeah. Maybe bulking up's not the, I don't know. And not that Mr. McGregor and his HGH on The Ultimate Fighter is a good context, but
knocking out mascots.
Yeah, knocking out mascots, and fully on his roid rage when his jaw looks 16 times bigger. But look, I think the receiver room and the running back room are good. I think that they're both a lot better if Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are on the field, and that's what you have to hope, because if not, you're just asking for trouble. I think they're still one guy short. Look, if JSN, I thought they could have drafted JSN in the draft. Is JSN an elite athlete? And I know the Jets love that elite level athlete at receiver, especially the way they've drafted. But I don't know. JSN, Garrett Wilson, and Lazard and Hardman sounds a lot better than, having to rely back on Corey Davis. But again, I guess Corey Davis is your 3 or 4 is a lot better than where you were 2 years ago. But again, running back and receiver are both spots where they don't need to add, but I would not be upset if they added. I think Hopkins or Cook, I don't know how much they have left, but they are definitely good enough options to help get them to a title. You look back at, again, 2009, 2010, those ads of Braylon Edwards, of, a LaDainian Tomlinson ended up, being huge keys to them getting as far as they did.
What you mentioned Quan Alexander earlier, which I think if you had a fan vote, I think every fan's ready to pay ourselves to get back on the team, because it seems like he played very well last year. He's not making a lot of money. Even if you double his salary from last year, it's still nothing. Are you a Jamie and Sherwood fan, or do you think this is kind of the Jets just waiting until last minute? He signed late last year too. Like, how do you think this thing plays out with Quan?
Yeah, I think it was similar time last year. Now that OTAs are over, all these veterans will start to sign. This is what always happens. These guys don't want to have to practice more than, and I get it. I'm not bashing their work ethic. It's like, if you make millions of dollars, I'd rather work out on my own than have to beat my body up and a little bit extra. I think if some other team blows the Jets offer out of the water, Quan's gone. But I think if all things are equal, he'll be back. That's like the best way I could phrase it. I think the Jets have an offer out. I'm sure he wants more money. I don't know if anyone's going to give it to him. The linebacker market kind of sucks, and he's a guy that's finally played a full season last year, but he's still kind of their third guy. I'd love to see Sherwood do well. Nasruddin, I actually thought was going to be a better player than he's turned out to be, at least so far. I thought he was a good player in college. At safety, I actually don't even know why. I don't think he even needed to move to linebacker. He has these moments during camp where you're watching him like, holy shit, who is that? And then he makes a play, and then he doesn't make another play for 2 weeks. So you're like, okay, now I get it. But yeah, look, Sherwood had some flashes, but he's a guy who was not the quickest, and then tore his Achilles. So it's like I don't know what. And he's a converted safety. So again, that's another safety, linebacker, receiver, and running back are all spots where I feel like they're fine, and at some of those they're good. But like they're a Mosley, I know this, and this is every position in football, but they're a Mosley, Wilson, or a Breece Hall injury away from being like pretty shitty at all of those spots, especially linebackers. So, Sherwood and Quincy doesn't really feel the same as Mosley and Quincy. And they play a lot of 5 defensive back stuff. Michael Carter's on the field a ton, which helps them. But again, Quan's not a superstar, but I think the Jets would be better off if they had him back. I think he'd feel a lot better about the team.
Especially, it's not going to be a cap-breaking contract. Do a couple $1 million,
no,
$2-3 million.
Probably one for $2 or $3 million bucks, maybe some incentives to get him to 4.
And the position you mentioned, this is probably the position that annoys me the most, is a safety position where, like, I admittedly had high hopes for Jordan Whitehead. Disappointing last year. They trade for Clark. Apparently the Jets are really high on Tony Adams, but it's like it seems like you have 2 box safeties and a guy that's really unproven. What do you think about the safeties, man? I continue to think you mentioned a big move earlier, like another splash move. I kind of think it may be a safety, man, because it's kind of like a hole, right?
Yeah, it's not a valued position in this defense as much as some of these other spots are. I get that. That said, last year the safety play was pretty bad overall. Not bad. I don't even want to say it's bad. It was Joyner had some moments early in the year. He's a guy that look when they brought Joyner in, I had super high hopes for Joyner because when he played safety, he was an all-pro level safety. He got moved to nickel corner with the Raiders, and it was terrible. And then he gets moved back to safety, gets hurt, the first quarter of the Panthers game, and season was over. Then and then obviously this year started off. I think he had like 3 or 4 interceptions in the first 4 weeks. I guess he had 3 in the Steelers game, and then it felt like his season kind of just torpedoed down. He's a guy that was hurt a lot and almost retired, and you saw why. Whitehead had like one of those weird years where 95% of Whitehead was awesome. The 5% that he missed tackles on and the Ravens game missed an assignment was like they're all ended up in touchdowns. They're all like game-breaking plays. The Patriots won coming out of the half. Zach makes the crucial mistake at the end of the half, and then the one at home, and then Ramondre Stevenson runs him over in the hole because that was brutal. The one against Jacksonville was tough. The Ravens ones, but then there's other plays where Whitehead makes looks great and run the run defense. Chuck Clark's a guy that you really like, obviously, and he was a really just kind of switchblade type of player. I think there's still a guy short. You're putting a lot on Tony Adams. Sorry. I know they like him. He looked good last year at points, but he's still an undrafted converted corner who's played 4 NFL games. So, I don't think you're going to see Ashton Davis be a starter. It's just weird. Ashton Davis randomly gets all these interceptions he's intercepted Tua twice and had the one against the Browns last year, but doesn't play on defense. So, they've got, the young kid out of LSU they drafted, they're going to convert to safety. It just feels like, man, the Pinnock move, you hope Tony Adams is good because Pinnock probably is a starting free safety on this team this year, if he's here. So, again, I know if their weakest spot is one safety position, this roster's in a good spot. That said, I don't know if Kevin Byard doesn't report to camp, maybe you make a call there. I don't know if it's a John Johnson and Adrian Amos. You bring in a veteran and just been there, done that. Maybe they can help a little bit. They cut Will Parks the other day. So it just feels like they could make one more move there, and it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Now you're looking at – I got 2 more questions for you, man.
Yeah.
The defensive line is interesting because I think Will McDonald is probably most – nobody's any expectations for him. The Jets have a first-round pick that nobody cares about because you have Huff, you got Jermaine Johnson, you got Carl Lawson, you have all these studs. We went from no pass rushers to an abundance, which is weird saying as a Jets fan. What do you think about this defensive line? I think they have a chance to be much better than last year because they're going to be playing with leads this year. They're not going to be having to hold an opponent to 6 points, right?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think the run game last year, they were good at points. You probably could run on them a little bit but the problem is the Jets always they were losing a lot of times, especially in the first quarter last year. Zach Wilson on an opening script was tough to watch. So I don't know. You look at a Bryce Huff, you look at McDonald, Jermaine Johnson should be better. He looks like he looks like a guy. I think people forget this stuff, especially with some of these positions that, not necessarily as much as Sauce or Garrett Wilson or even a Breece Hall, these skill groups. A lot of these linemen, especially these defensive linemen, some of these you got to get into a real NFL weight program for a year. I don't think people realize how taxing the draft process is. It's honestly horrible for these prospects. I mean, I'm exhausted at the combine and the Senior Bowl. I cannot imagine having to practice and meetings after meetings. I don't know when you're getting lift, your nutrition's off, you're training specifically to go do something in the combine and a pro day, which has nothing to do with real football stuff. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into OTAs and you're learning new playbooks. There's a lot. So, not that Jermaine Johnson wasn't in good shape last year. He looks like he's in NFL. He looks like an NFL edge rusher right now. And O'Connor said today on the show that Carl Lawson looks like Hercules right now. So
he does.
He looks huge.
Michael Clemens looks scary.
Clemens. You look at obviously a Quinnen. I think losing Rankins was brutal. I'm glad they brought in Woods and Jefferson. I think that was huge. But I think people don't realize how good Rankins was last year. He allowed Quinnen to do a lot of stuff. He had a really strong start to the year. Actually, I feel like the defense had its worst stretch. The few games he missed in between the Buffalo home game, and then I think he came back. I don't remember which game he came back for, but he was out 3 or 4 weeks, and I felt like the defense didn't look quite as explosive pass rush wise. So this defensive line should be really good. Again, don't take Bryce Huff off the field on third down because he's snap for snap the best edge rusher in football, just analytically, the amount of pressures he gets, the amount of big time rushes he has. So, I think this defensive line should have a big year. I hope that they get, they kind of know what they're you kind of know what you're going to get in Lawson and JFM. Maybe it fluctuates a sack or two, but it kind of feels like they're both 6 to 8, maybe 10 sack guys, especially Lawson. Maybe he gets to 10. He's probably an 8 sack guy. JFM's probably 6 to 8 sacks. Quinnen, if you hope you get 10 to 12, and then can you get another 20 between Huff, Jermaine Johnson, McDonald, and Clemens? I don't see why not. Quentin Jefferson had 6.5 last year as a situational defensive tackle rusher, so maybe it's 25 out of those guys. If they hit the quarterback, this team's going to be in a good spot. The games they hit the quarterback last year, which was a majority of them, they either won or only lost because of their quarterback, and that's not going to be the problem this year. So I'm excited about this defensive line. I think depth-wise, they're a top 3 unit in the sport. I don't think they have the premier edge rusher, San Francisco or maybe Pittsburgh or some of these, Philly might have, but they're a damn good group. And that and their corner room. I think the Jets have the best corner room in football, and I think they have a top 3 defensive line room. I don't know the last time I don't know if you've ever been able to say that about the Jets. Usually they kind of have one or the other. Yep. To have this many edge rushers, this many defensive linemen, and the amount of elite cornerback play they have and the age of a lot of these guys is pretty scary.
So the last question, the easiest question you're going to have, dude. What is it like having Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback of the New York Jets? Because to me, it's just an amazing. I don't care about his age, just what he's bringing to on the field, off the field. What is it like, dude? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's I've been a huge Rodgers fan for a long time. I used to tweet about Rodgers all the time. People, during COVID, it was always fun to get people riled up. And I tweet a throw of Aaron Rodgers. Everyone flips out about his vaccine policies. He's an unbelievable generational all-time talent. He's accomplished everything there is to win the sport. Do I think that, Rodgers has a little something to prove now on that back half of his career, go get Super Bowl number 2 because it puts you in an elite class? I do. Do I think he's motivated? Do I think he's a guy that's happy to be out of – he's never experienced this. He's like – I just think that, he went from – nothing wrong with, California and stuff like that. It's a very different place than New York. And, he grew up in a smaller part of California, went to Berkeley. It's not like he wasn't at USC or UCLA in LA and gets drafted by the Packers, which Green Bay is, obviously an incredible football city and football town, but it's still Green Bay. It's still Wisconsin. And, don't not bring me back on the radio. Anyone that's from Wisconsin, you can bring me on anytime. But listen, he's never had this stuff, right? He's at the Tony Awards. He's at Taylor Swift. He's at, Ed Sheeran. He's doing all these different things. And I think he's just like a guy that kind of got out of that semi-toxic relationship where it was great for a long time and it went bad at the end. And then now he's a guy that, is happy. He's excited to be in a new environment. And it's a team that, he should do really well with. And I think that's the end of the day. I think they've never had a player like this ever. Like it's as much as you could love a Namath, you could love even Favre, Vassier, these other guys. No one touches what he is. So, it's exciting. I don't know how else to really, phrase it.
And the realistic expectation for the Jets this year, everybody's saying, to me, it's like make a run at the division, 10, 11 wins. Like anything less than that's disappointing for me. I think win a playoff game. I think that should be the expectation. I think if you make the playoffs and you lose in round 1 to Cincinnati, or you lose in round 1 on the road or something like that, you could handle it. I think if you make to the conference title game, you feel really good. I think this is a 2-year, 3-year process. So I don't feel like this is a situation where, like, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, he's going to retire and it's all over. I think they know this is a 2 to 3 year window, more likely a 2-year window. But again, this roster's super young, and in 3 years, if Rodgers walks away, they go get a young quarterback or they get the next guy, right? So I don't think just making the playoffs is enough. Like sneaking in as the 7 seed at 8, 9, 8 isn't good enough for me. I mean, unless, of course, if they made a run, it's a little different. But compete for the division, win 10, 11. You hope to get 12 wins. You'd feel really good at 11. 10, you'd be like, okay, this team's pretty good. And win a playoff game. Again, you go lose to Kansas City in the conference title game in Kansas City. Most everyone does that, right? Like you're not going to correct yourself for that. Try to win a playoff game and be a Super Bowl contender going into 24, no matter what. If that mean, kind of 2009 this thing a little bit where get as far as you can, get some playoff experience. If they start making a run, look, if they start out the year 6-1, which I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to start more like a 4-3, maybe 5-2 if they feel good. I think the back half of the schedule is easy. Feel good, and there's a guy on the market. You go all in at the trade deadline. I mean, like that's where you want to be. You want to be in that conversation with, can we compete with Kansas City? Can we go beat Cincinnati on the road in Cincinnati and in the conference title game or something like that? I think if you got to be better than Miami and New England. If you're better than Miami and New England, you'll be in the playoffs and feeling pretty good. I think Miami's a good team. I think New England's probably slightly better than people think, but I don't think they're great. I don't think they're great by any means. I just think they had a nice draft. They could, they're always well coached. So finish second in the division, you'll probably be the 5 seed and have won 11 or 12 games. And you're playing in Jacksonville on Wild Card weekend, and all of a sudden you're feeling pretty good about your chances of getting to a divisional round and conference title game. No, 100%, man. It's exciting times to be a Jet fan, man. Like you talked about, you broke it down excellent. It's just so much talent, and the Aaron Rodgers factor. Like week in and week out, you have a chance to win a game. When was the last time you say about the Jets? Probably never, right? We've never had. Seriously, be honest.
Yeah,
like
not in a long time. Not in a really long time.
You do game previews, man. You got to do smoke and mirrors. Like, well, if this happens and this happens and it rains, and we have
if this guy's hurt, if the weather's this way, if this guy throws 6 picks, and it's like, oof. But now it's like, most games you feel good about going in saying, if they play their game, they can win this football game. Like that's how you want to be. You want to be like, if we impose our will in this game, we win this game. Not, I hope 18 other things go wrong, and then that's how we win. No,
it's awesome. So first of all, Will, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy as hell.
Yeah, of course. No, of course, man. Anytime.
And for those of you that don't know how to get a hold of you, how can they follow you on social media and check out all your great work?
Yeah. So the handle in there, Will PA11 on all socials. Turn on the Jets podcast at TOJ Pod. Had an episode out today with Ian O'Connor. Adam Shine was on Friday, and then a bunch of player interviews will be coming up over the next couple of weeks. Some more people, throughout the, cover the Jets and, national people that'll come on to start talking about what the division looks like. Have some people from around the league on a schedule of kind of starting to preview a little bit of camps and position battles, all those different types of things. But keep up the great work. Obviously, you do a great job as well. And I'm happy to hop on anytime. No, training camp. Do you come back on and give us some insight? Yeah, of course, man. I'm in. I'm down. Well, a lot of Mekhi Becton drama, I'm sure.
You know, and I'll instigate too, man. Don't worry. So, Will, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, Will Parkinson. If anybody wants to join the show here, you can come on, share your thoughts. If anybody wants to tell me guys that you want to have on, I just reached out to Richie Jets Media, so I'm trying to talk to him. We have Gangrene Steve wants to come on. So, what's up, my friend? Yo, Afram.
Hey,
What's up, man?
I know you switched over to me.
I'm like this, man. I'm like a ninja right
Yeah,
now.
okay, all right. Let's not go crazy.
Like Look at this technology, and just so you know, I have the new camera setup. I have all the wiring all now. So I'm 1 week away from being all kinds of like official now.
Wow, we should throw a party. Hello,
Hold me
Elmo.
back, man. Held me back.
I like Will. Will's good, although I'm not settling for second place.
Yeah, he's really good, man. He's really good, but he likes to keep everything like even keel and
Yeah,
kind of
I
like,
know,
well,
yeah,
you know, like we want the hot takes, man. We want to go
I don't
crazy.
see why we can't win the division.
Yeah,
you know,
they've
I
got to
don't know
make
what
a
he
run
sees.
at it, dude.
I don't know what he sees in New England that we don't see, but
I mean, if you look at it, you're not scared of New England. You want to sweep both games, right?
Right.
Miami, you got to figure you got to beat up on Tua. You know, I mean, hold on, Armand, 14-month weight loss anniversary. He's lost a total of 166 pounds. That's incredible, man. That is incredible. But you sweep the Patriots. You've got to try to sweep the Dolphins as well, man. At least get one of them because you beat up Tua. You do that, and you have to get Dalvin Cook. I don't care. You got to be the better team with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Right.
And then it comes down to the Bills, and then you figure probably split with the Bills. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, definitely, I think we take the home opener.
Oh, that'd be wild. That place will be a zoo.
Yeah, because I don't know if I think we've improved. We've improved defensively and a little bit, and we definitely improved offensively. All right.
We just got to figure. But the only thing you got to figure though is you're installing a brand new offense. First night, Aaron Rodgers going against a very good defense, probably gonna attack them. They could be a little bit just sloppy, no?
Let's wait and see because they offense. They had a new offense last year too, and they did well with it, and without a quarterback. So, I think from what you hear that everyone's picking up their game. They see who's behind the center, and they want to be try to reach that level of play. So focus is there. I think this team's going to do well. I think there's a few more. I think he's right. A few more players. I just don't know. Some of these guys know that we're looking for players, and their price tag has gone up. It's not like we've won over a consistent number of years, and they want to take a cheaper route. They know we're kind of desperate to get.
Yeah, but
players.
A guy like Dalvin Cook. To me, the Dalvin Cook thing is the same exact thing as Tyreek Hill. He can love the Jets. He's going to go to the Dolphins because he's going to make more money there. The taxes alone, everything else. And that's not being a jerk about the Jets. It's just what it seems like it's going to happen. And that's why he's smart. Like what you do when a free agent is you go all over social media, you start liking everybody's posts. You mentioned Jets, Dalvin Cook. I'm going to like all this stuff, stir up all this stuff, try to create more leverage, try to boost up your price. But at the end of the day, I think he goes to the Dolphins. But to me, it's like Will said before, I still think running back is a need for this team because you don't want to rush Breece Hall back. And do you really want to count on Michael Carter and Bam Knight and all these guys, especially when you're worried about blitz pickup, pass protection, all this stuff? I'd bring in a veteran, dude.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with Fournette or even. I don't know why there was no interest in Kareem Hunt, unless he's just waiting for the right situation.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But that's a position that I think, I'll keep saying Fournette, but bring in a guy, especially a short yardage guy that, say it's, 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter, everything on the line. Bring in that, even like Zeke Elliott. I don't even care about him. He's not going to get a lot of money because he's been paid already.
Yeah. Let's, it all depends on what they feel will fit their scheme as well. But those guys I think it helps the running back core also, get a veteran guy. They learn from him, right?
And the thing too, it's I don't think he's going to get $10 or $11 million. The thing is, you look at what does Cook bring to the table as opposed to Michael Carter. If Breece Hall can't play, Michael Carter's number 2 right now, right? It's not Donovan Knight. And then, even like Will said too, with Izzy, the kid's he's a rookie. I'm not throwing a rookie running back in a primetime game. Like, all right, kid, you're the starter, go for it, and worry about all these exotic schemes and everything else. That ain't happening.
No, Cook fits good because veteran. He's always been a starter, right?
Yeah,
so that's what you want.
He's a home run hitter too, man. He can still break it. He's consistent. He's a quality NFL running back. And then if you piece him up with Breece Hall, sold.
They got to get some contracts done. I know they got to finish with Rodgers. Right now, they're $24 million above the
under the cap
and above the cap.
Yep.
They're negative $51 million for next year. Right
next
now.
year's next year, man. We're about next
year. I'm saying they have to fix that because if you're gonna sign.
Do you know who our general manager is? Come on, man.
No, but I'm saying because that also you're gonna extend Quinnen. You got to extend those years also into into that. So there's a lot of, I'm sure that they're looking at everything and they'll get it done. Fans were always anxious to get things, done right away. We want to see what a team looks like. So time will tell. I just like to see them get the running back done. Maybe a free safety. Yeah,
please.
I think Quan comes back. Like he says, who's paying him?
Dude, you double his salary. It's only $2 million. That's nothing. And like that's the thing with the Jets. They have cap space. Once Rodgers restructures, you can have even more cap space. Money's not an issue, dude. And that, like you said, there's certain positions where you're nervous. You're a Garrett Wilson injury away, a CJ Mosley injury away, where you're like, man, we don't have a lot of depth here. So I'd rather have Quan in the building now and just get it over with. Like you're not breaking the bank with him.
No. I think they often the league vet minimum.
Well, that was what I think Rich Cimini was hinting towards, where Quan wants a certain amount, but he's like, he would only offer the veteran minimum. Even if you give him a pay raise for playing all 17 games last year, being a leader in the locker room, give him a $500,000 pay raise or $1 million. Who cares, dude? Right?
I'm sure it gets done. I think he does come back because he fits. He knows the defense. Yep.
Well, so you figure you want to get Quan done. Quinnen has got to get done before training camp, dude. That is something that you can play all these games now. You have a month, you have 5-6 weeks to play all these games and delete things on social media and whatever the hell you want. Don't care. But when you have your head coach saying it's going to get done, you have your general manager saying it's going to get done. Come training camp, that shit better be done, dude. Seriously, don't tell us.
You don't need that headache,
right?
Yeah, you don't need that headache. You want to come in with nothing in anyone's head, nothing.
And he's earned it.
Of it. Yeah, no disturbing.
But what could be the only pissing contest could be, which I think we referenced last week, was it could be the years where the Jets could say, we want to give you 5 years. All right, I want 3. Meet in the middle and give him 4. I'm sure he wants.
I say give him 4 anyway. Just give him 4.
But you know what I'm saying? Because you figure he wants that second big payday. You get this big one now, and then 3 years from now, play at a Pro Bowl level.
Which gets to me. Give him 4 years if that's what he wants. It gives you 4 years to draft another defensive tackle. He's gonna age out, and you'll get some. You want to recycle the defensive line because even though you're doing the rotation, it's Poland.
What's up, Jay? Your shirt. I'll be mailing out your shirt tomorrow, my friend. Hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday. So thank you, man. It's awesome at Poland. Holy shit.
But yeah, I mean, you want to recycle some of these guys who, and bring the youth. That's what we started with. You just want to keep that core youth movement and just like some of these guys are going to get older, and you want to bring these guys in. See the difference, and this is what annoys me a little bit is when people start mentioning Mo Wilkerson. To me, these guys are apples and oranges because Quinnen Williams is becoming one of the best players at his position at a very young age, and he's just scratching the surface, man. He's only going to get better. He's becoming a dominant force, like a game-wrecking force, right? With the work ethic, with the personality. He does all the right things on the field. That's a big difference, man. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So for that, it's like this is the kind of guy you pay, and this is the kind of guy that Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, all these young guys are watching and be like, you know what? This is one of our guys that's earned it. Saleh himself has said he's earned it. We got to pay him. And you tell them the rest of the team, hey, we'll pay the guys. We'll pay the guys we drafted.
100%. It's important, man. So you go from that. So you figure defensive line, get Quinnen done, Quan getting done to me is important. The safety position, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, to me remains a concern where I'm like, and just probably because I don't study film and I don't look at what Tony Adams is, but I do know that Clark and Jordan Whitehead are pretty much similar players. So if you want to make Clark a hybrid linebacker, which is great, you still need another safety. And I don't want an unproven guy back there next to Jordan Whitehead. I'd rather have another proven guy back there. It's been there, done that as a free safety.
But like he says, is the other guy's going to sit out of training camp, but he's got a big contract too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the bank, but the thing is, where do you fit all this money? You're going to have to restructure that guy's contract. You got to fit all these guys in.
We could do it, man. How do you think the Rams do it? The Chiefs do it? Dude, if you want to become a big-time NFL team, you make the moves this year because you have one of the best quarterbacks in football on your team with a win-now team. You make the moves.
The question is, do they want to do that? That's the thing. Do they want to go through that type of cap hell down the road?
It's not really cap hell, dude. The salary cap's going to skyrocket over the next 3 years. The Jets have cap space, man.
Let's see. I mean, that's no one's been cut yet either, have they? June cuts. I haven't seen any major.
Will Parks.
Will Parks. Yeah, that shake.
That's a big cut.
That shake the whole league up. I saw it was people going nuts over that one. But still, I'm surprised there's nobody been cut for June cut for cap reasons.
I think that'll all start once training camp comes, man. When guys got to report because then they get hurt and teams don't want to deal with it. I think teams right now are probably trying to trade people, do stuff. But once you actually walk in the facility, you have the risk of getting hurt. They're like, you know what? We're good, man. Now you can go. You know what I mean? Because then they don't, even sometimes a mini camp.
Yeah, but that, camp is what, in July?
Yeah, like what, third week of July?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still would think last year there was a lot of guys cut after June. They were available. We get this guy. But this year, I don't know. I don't know if they want to hold on to the last minute and do things. Very weird this year from last year.
So the other thing too is you figure we talked about safety, you talked about linebacker. The other area that I think is kind of a bit of a concern is wide receiver, right? Because you figure, everybody likes Lazard. Corey Davis is probably going to restructure or something. But other than that, man, I don't think Hopkins is coming. I mean, the Jets, Saleh pretty much shot it down right away. He was like, yeah, we're good here. But don't you think the Jets, can they still be in the market for somebody or no?
You would think you need them. Who's the depth? Who's the depth? Is it Mims? I mean,
Brownlee's going to save it now. We have all the undrafted free agents are going to save our season.
Unless they see someone getting cut and do that, they can hope that these guys last. But I mean, what depth? They after Mims. You got Hardman. You got
Hardman.
Yeah,
Davis.
He's not here to play, but I don't know. I don't see anyone getting a casualty that's going to be available. I mean, this guy got cut out of the blue. No one anticipated. I thought they would get someone to trade for him, but like you said, he'd end up either he's not. I don't see him going to New England.
No. Why would you want to go there? It's
exactly. I think he
went. See, he visited with the Titans today.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to visit with the Patriots. I think if Anthony's he's going to push up his price a little bit. We're like, you know what? Oh, these teams are all interested. But meanwhile, he's going to go to a team that actually has a chance to win. Maybe the Browns or somewhere else.
KC or Buffalo. To me, those are his best options. But no one to. It's just a slow period of time right now. It's a slow period. It's just we're anxious. I want to see these guys. Training camp. I want to see these guys. I want to see some highlights in training camp. I want to hear stories. I'm just so psyched for this year with this team,
dude. Right now, this is gonna be the longest 5 weeks of our lives because you hope that nobody gets hurt and nobody gets in trouble, right? Like every day, wake up like, please, no ESPN news. Like you check Twitter, like nobody got no problems. Like good, day by day.
Any news on Uzama? They say
he said he's fine. He's gonna be fine.
There you go. Yeah.
The only news right now is that Aaron Rodgers went to the Tonys. He looked great with Uzama. He's doing a world tour. He looks happy. He's going back to California. As
long as he's happy and he's focused, that's all we want. I'm just hoping everything just falls into place. I think we will. I think we'll have a really good year. I think it's going to be a surprising year. And everyone said, "Oh, you
surprising." We're all expecting it.
Yeah, but everyone is talking shit about how you didn't face real quarterbacks last year. But then again, they didn't face real quarterbacks playing us either.
You
So
got
I
to
don't
ignore
know.
the noise, man.
Huh? Ignore the noise. Yeah, ignore the
Afram,
noise.
thank you so much for coming on. And I will
No,
be contacting
thank
you.
you for doing these things. I
And I got my
appreciate it.
new camera and shit going on. I'm gonna be all professional now. I'm gonna be like the rest of these
Yeah,
content creators now. I'm gonna have like cameras and like
yeah.
real like
You just
thumbnails for my
need a
videos.
side camera to get you that profile to give you that look.
Ryan, Ryan was showing me his setup. I'm
Yeah, I
like, dude,
seen it.
like your second wire, I'm already confused. He's like, no, you just gotta do this. I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, unless you're coming here
Yeah,
to do it
when he
yourself,
does,
I'm
I've
out.
seen his show. He does the side views. He's got his big two monitors. He's got his
No,
camera.
he
It's
gave me
a
like a tour. It was
DSLR.
ridiculous.
He's got another camera on sideways. He's got his controller over there. He's got
pedals, dude. He's got pedals
yeah,
underneath this thing
yeah.
where he presses pedals for certain. I'm like, dude, I'm
Yeah,
not
and
even smart to hit the
I don't
freaking
know.
button to get
Does he
the
use
comments up.
StreamYard or does he use something else? I
He
think he
doesn't use
uses.
StreamYard.
Is he does StreamYard?
No, he doesn't. He uses something
No,
else.
he uses OS something. OS.
Yeah.
It's
too
open
high
source
level.
that's free, but there's you got to learn it. But it's very popular amongst streamers that do like just talk. They control a lot. They can do a lot of effects on there.
Like
There's
me.
a lot of add-ons that you can put in there. So
I've never had a conversation where I felt so stupid than when I had with Ryan. I was like, you just what? I was like, I'm good, dude. Like I'm like, oh, I think dinner's ready. I gotta go. I'm like,
look how long it took you to add people on the chat.
I not see this.
Yeah. Now you're an expert. Now you get the camera.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm still light years behind, but a new camera is my next step. So
content is all that matters.
Bullshit. Have a good night, man.
Be well.
You
Take
too.
care.
What's up, man?
Going on?
How you doing?
Good. First time, long time.
Too long. You've been dodging me.
Yeah, people were. I heard you don't like Canadians. That's why you didn't have me on.
Is that what it was?
So yeah, I've been super busy. We'll definitely have to collaborate officially sometime. But I wanted to call in and just ask a question. So for you, with the way
questions,
I'll do the old fashioned. I'll ask and I'll listen to your answer. But with the way this roster is set up right now, obviously the defense is really good. We just got Aaron Rodgers. So for you, last 2 minutes of a game, do you have more trust in Aaron Rodgers in this offense to go win it and get a score, or this defense to get a stop to close out a game?
So you got all your fans are coming. Aaron Rodgers to win it.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so too, man. I hope so. When's the last time that was our answer?
Dude, it's amazing that you have, like I said, week in and week out, you can say, you know what, I think we can win this game, right? You literally think we can win this game and not like lie to each other and be like, yeah, you know what, it's gonna be snowing and there's gonna be wind and he's one of the best to ever play the game, dude. And we have talent, but I think they need more talent on offense. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, for the right price, I think D-Hop is kind of done. I'm interested in him. I'd offer a contract to Dalvin Cook. So I'm keeping my eye on the market for post-June for post-June cuts. Definitely, I think we're good enough as it is, but you have to always be looking to upgrade because we're trying to compete with the Kansas Cities, Cincinnati's, Philadelphia, San Francisco's of the world, and those teams are stacked and loaded. But I do think that there's still another level to this defense. Just the fact that we're going to be playing with more leads, better time of possession, they'll be more rested. Other teams will have to be more aggressive, take more chances, so more turnovers. So I actually think the defense could even be better than it was last year. Now, we were relatively lucky with injuries, but yeah I think my biggest question on offense besides offensive line is really a dynamic number 2 receiver. And I think that's what they were trying to get with Odell Beckham. Yeah. And I think, with D-Hop, I think they would have been interested. I think he's not interested or he's not a culture fit. But that's the only thing where it's like, man, if Garrett Wilson has to miss a game, this wide receiver core becomes pretty underwhelming. But other than that, I think it's just down to health, and we're as good as anybody, man.
Now, the offensive line, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, you got to hope that Tomlinson's going to play at a high level because he didn't play well last year. Dwayne Brown is healthy and back to, just solid. Doesn't have to be great, just be solid. But then the right side is, what are you expecting out of Becton, man? Is he going to play right tackle? Is it going to become a problem? Like, what do you think?
It's for me, like with Becton, once he practices for 2 full weeks, then I'll start wondering where he's gonna play. It's hard for me to imagine they say Dwayne Brown, go play right tackle for the first time in your life when he's like 39 years old. So I think he is pretty much solidified at left tackle. Salah almost said as much, but if Becton's healthy, he's one of your best 5 offensive linemen. So I think it's going to be Becton and Brown. Thing is, neither one of them is practicing right now. I know we're a ways away, but the depth is pretty good, man. You know, if we're going to get injuries like last year, any team would be screwed no matter what. But guys like Billy Turner or Schweitzer or, you know, Max Mitchell, they're not good, but you could play Billy Turner for a game or two and survive. I think my biggest question on the offensive line, I think, is, dude, Laken Tomlinson, is he going to bounce back? Because we gave him a whole bunch of money and he was terrible. And they restructured his contract, so obviously they're optimistic that he's going to bounce back. Center, whether it's McGovern or Tippmann, I think we're at least okay. So for me, it's like the health of Becton and then Laken having a bounce back year. The offensive line, it's very scary because the ceiling is really high, but the floor is so low. There's so much variance there.
Yeah, and I'm curious. It was curious too because McGovern was playing center and Tippmann was practicing at guard. I'm like, all right, maybe that's just because it's just like OTAs, they're switching guys around and stuff. He's versatile. Some analysts have Tippmann as being a very good guard. I'm like, well, that's not, you know, we want our center for the future, but it's definitely a concern where you're like, man, what do we have here? You want them to be stout, you want them to be good, you want to protect Aaron Rodgers, and then you look at, you know, the Aaron Rodgers in itself, dude. It's like to have him here. Like you figure he's not going to hold the ball for 10 seconds. He's going to get rid of it. He's going to know his reads. Right. That can help the offensive line as well. So can this be like a top 12, top 10 offense, you think, if everything goes right?
Oh, it better be with the trade they made. I think that like even with the struggles at quarterback, before Brees and AVT went hurt, we were scoring points. Yeah. You know, remember, we hung 40 on Miami, or like the Pittsburgh game, it was like 20 points. With Mike White against, you know, Chicago and Minnesota, absolutely. I think that, you know, they're not going to be, I don't know, a top 8 offense. I think they could have a top 8 offense and a top 8 defense. Really, for me, this team is going to come down to coaching. And I think Robert Saleh he's proven himself to be a good defensive coach. He's proven himself to not be a complete and utter incompetent like Adam Gase. But I think, okay, can he go and win a chess match against, you know, Andy Reid or Zach Taylor or Sean McDermott? I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying he's unproven, and it's so hard to evaluate your coaching staff without a quarterback, man. It's like you're a boxer. It's like tie one arm behind your back and go out there and fight. You really can't do it. So that to me is the biggest question mark, and I think we'll get a decent part of the answer, you know, week 1. I love the matchup week 1. Let's see where we're at right away in this division, because let's be honest, you got to win your division to win the Super Bowl. Like 90% of the Super Bowl winners since they started the wild card format win their division. So I like how we match up against Buffalo. I'm excited to see. That's the biggest question for me is, okay, Saleh and Hackett versus the other top coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, I think Saleh just handling Rodgers, game management, time management, because he improved last year in certain areas. Other areas, you're like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like his situational awareness was kind of like lost, but then the Jets were on a losing streak. Nobody cared. Now the expectations are so much higher now, man, where it's like we expect wins. Like we're not going to tolerate, you know, punting 4th and 10 from your 40. That's not going to happen this year because you have Aaron Rodgers. So him managing Rodgers, the expectations, how he handles the game, I think is going to be really interesting. But what are realistic expectations for this team? Like I'm thinking like 11 wins, maybe 10 wins. Anything less than that, something went wrong.
Yeah, I think if I can't expect a Super Bowl while Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, then when can I? You know, it's the best quarterback I've ever had on this team and the best collection of young talent on rookie contracts, the combination of those two things, I think, in my life. So, okay, now at the same time, if we go to the Super Bowl and we lose by 1 point to the Eagles, am I going to say, oh my God, it all wasn't worth it, this team sucks? No. But if Super Bowl can't be the goal in this next 2-3 years, I don't know when it can be. I'd say at the very least, you got to win a playoff game. You got to break the streak, get into the playoffs, and you have to win a playoff game this year to justify the Rodgers trade, because I think you could have signed some, I don't know, man, you could probably sign Derek Carr and got into the wild card, right, and lost in the first round. So I think you got to get in there. I think you got to win one. But I won't take up too much more of your time. I'll let you get your other callers.
I have one more question for you, though.
Oh, yeah, go. Go
Dude,
for it, man.
You're the famous Buffalo Jet fans, been blowing me off for about 3 months now. So I got to ask one more question. I've been chasing you around like I'm like a schoolgirl. I'm like, come on my show. So what is it like to finally cover a team that's fun to watch? Like to have a team that's exciting? Because like, dude, last couple of years has been miserable. Like you're sitting here like, the games were over. We're over analyzing the draft by November. Like, what is it like for you, man, just to be a part of like just following this team now, like with the resurgence?
It's surreal, man. It's surreal. And I'm finally, you ever get this when you tell someone you're a Jet fan and it's almost like they don't even make fun of you, but they're sorry for you.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, I hate that, man. I hate that, especially living in Buffalo. Like the past few years, obviously the Bills have been really good. So, and to be worth putting on national TV, to be excited to go to a game and know that, not waking up early and thinking, okay, if the stars align, if there's a fumble, if we get a kick return touchdown, if there's a crosswind and it's raining, like, no, if we show up and play our game, we can beat anybody. No excuses, just straight up. It's awesome. Now, kudos to you, because I know you guys have been doing this forever. So I never had to make videos about an Adam Gase team. My channel's like a little over a year old. So I'm kind of spoiled. I came in and I got, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and then now I'm right into Aaron Rodgers in the second year. So I'm like a trust fund kid of Jets YouTube.
You're definitely blessed, man.
But it's been awesome.
Those teams killed our livers. So I think everybody knows Buffalo Jet fan. So now so how do I get you on a show, dude? How do I get to collaborate with you? Do I have to like send a check? Do we mail checks? Do we got to like wire money to you? How does this work?
Now let's do it, man. You're pretty much every Monday. So just my email's in my channel description. Shoot me like a couple of your next Mondays and I'll make one work for sure.
All right. And how's the family?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. We got a little one down here. She's finally she's chilling. She's sleeping well because she's got Aaron Rodgers as her quarterback. So come on. Who's got it better than us?
Kevin, thanks for calling in, man. Yeah, I'll email you. We got to do one, man. I've been dying to get a hold of you.
Hell yeah. Looking forward to it. Take care, brother.
Have a good night, man. Mr. Buffalo Jet fan goes. We got Mr. Buffalo Jet fan to Bubs. This is like a celebrity show tonight.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
What's up, man?
Nothing much. Just waiting for training camp, especially with the New York baseball has been great. So hopefully the Jets come through for sure.
What are your thoughts on Dalvin Cook, man?
I mean, I like where our running back room's at with, 4 young, like explosive guys. I mean, the oldest guy is obviously Carter, and he's only in his 3rd season. I know he struggled last year, but I think a part of that was he was dealing with a little bit of, it seemed like an injury, and then also the offensive line towards the end of the year was atrocious, and that's why Bam Knight struggled too. I mean, anytime you can add another talented player like Dalvin Cook, he's had 4 1,000-yard seasons the last 4 years in a row. He's been, top 10 running back. I would say he's more towards the end of his prime. He's still got, years ahead of him, but he's definitely towards the end of his prime. Similar to like DeAndre Hopkins, who, last year, despite, the PED suspension was good.
It was good.
But I don't know. I mean, I would take him. Again, we're in a win now mode. We have an opportunity to win a championship this year. Might as well go out there and get the most talent possible. But I feel like, in my opinion, DeAndre Hopkins was a bigger need than Dalvin Cook is. Like, I feel like I'm surprised that they are more in on Dalvin Cook than they were on DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he said, we'll turn this, Salah said, we'll turn the stones over and stuff on Cook. It seems like they're more invested in Cook than they were Hopkins, but I think Hopkins was a bigger need than Cook because of the way our receiving core is. I don't hate our receiving core, but DeAndre Hopkins would have definitely been a nice addition. And if something would to happen to Garrett Wilson, it does kind of look pretty bleak.
Yeah, but could that be could that be the Jets knowing he doesn't want to come here? Like, he pretty much said two or 3 times on different interviews, like, you know what, I don't want to go to Jets. If he's saying that and like, oh no, we want you, like, are they kind of like, kind of playing the same game? Because like Salah was pretty adamant, dude. Like, no, we're good. We like our room. Like, he didn't even like.
Yeah, like that's why I had that feeling for a while. Like, I didn't think Hopkins was gonna come here. I thought for sure, I wanted him. I thought that the Jets would definitely potentially be interested. But again, like, he had that interview that he said, he would want to play with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, I think Justin Herbert, Lamar, I think Jalen.
Everybody but Rodgers.
All the quarterbacks except Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, and it's funny because then he listed what he wants in his next team, and it was like a good quarterback, or is like a really good quarterback, Jets have that. Somebody that can win. Like a top 5 defense, Jets have that. Again, maybe might not quite be top 5 again this year, but definitely top 10. And I forget what the other trait was, but like everything fit the Jets, but it's for some reason, he didn't want to come here. So, yeah, I think it could have been part of Solid. Like, you don't want to come here. Well, we don't want you anyway. Solid has also really hyped up Corey Davis a lot, this offseason, like a lot. It seems like I don't know if it's just coaches talk. I don't know if it's trying to up the trade value, whatever it is. It's just, he's been hyping up Corey Davis so much. And even the day with DeAndre Hopkins conversations, talking about, how good he is and a leader and all that stuff. He's not bad. He can't stay healthy, but he's not like really, really good. Like Salah's been all over the Corey Davis hype train so far this offseason. It seems like, especially like with all these other receivers like Lazard and McCole Harmon and Wilson, it seems like he's on top of the Corey Davis hype train, it seems. But
it's weird.
Again, this receiving core, it's solid. It's not, you got Cobb, who's, a solid red zone threat, somebody that has been with Rodgers for a while. You have Lazard too, who you brought in.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
you want,
you've
listen,
got pieces,
but this is, I understand what you're saying, but you want game breaking talent. You want legitimate top level talent. Now, Lazard is a kid on the rise. He's a wide receiver on the rise, but does drop a lot of passes, and he's not Garrett Wilson. So it's like, this is kind of where, I know people say, I wish we still had Elijah Moore. You see Elijah Moore is tearing up in Browns camp right now. But I think the Jets aren't done, man. I think the Corey Davis thing could be insurance right now, where it's like, you know what? Let's get in the training camp, make sure no injuries happen. And then as it plays out, maybe late in camp, Corey Davis can get traded. You see who else is out there. But I think wide receiver is not done. I think the tight end group is fine. Running back, like I would add a wide receiver. I would add a running back. Defensively, bring back Quan. I still look for a safety. Like you got to keep tinkering with things, dude. Like this is, you're like this. You want as much depth as humanly possible. And then you got to hope the offensive line plays out. And that's probably the biggest X factor of all of this. Is it McGovern going to play center? Is it going to be Tippmann? Is Becton going to play right tackle? Is he not? What's the health of Dwayne Brown? What's the health of AVT? Like these guys, like we have a lot of faith in AVT. He's probably one of my favorite players, but he's got to come back fully healthy. Becton, we have no idea what he is. Dwayne Brown, we have no idea what he is. And Tomlinson's got to play better, right? Because he was terrible last year.
Yeah, definitely. You just quickly to your point too about the tight end room, Rucker. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him. Like if they use him like a hybrid role. I know you've kind of mentioned a lot, but he's got some talent. He's got a lot of talent. He showed it again, like so far in OTAs. Again, like it's just helmets. You can only take so much away from OTAs. Once you hit training camp and full pads and stuff, that's when things really start to count and stuff. And then obviously the season itself. But he's looked good. Definitely taking a step after the redshirt year. But the offense line is going to be interesting. A lot of fans make a good point. Like Dwayne Brown at this point in his career, are you just going to move into right tackle? Saleh seems very like he's got the inside track. He talked about how he, exactly. He played last year with a torn rotator cuff. Easily could have retired and took his money and left, but he decided to play. He played. He was solid for us. He was consistent, and if he can do that again for us, that would be definitely big. But I would like to see. I want to see Becton return to form just because how big that is for this team. Like Highway 77, you remember him from his rookie year.
But
if he can get back to that form, it would be huge.
It'd be huge, but we won't know that until what? Week 1, week 2, week 3. You won't know. Like the thing is, like you don't know in OTAs because he's not even practicing, but nobody's in pads.
Yeah.
When the pads start hitting a training camp, that's great. But then you got to see it in game action, dude. And that's why I just don't think Dwayne Brown's not coming back here to sit on the bench. He's just not. So it's Makai's gonna be like, all right, play right tackle and dominate and get that huge contract that way, or he's probably not gonna be here, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess I don't know what your feelings on this is, but again, Saleh's been definitely on the Dwayne Brown trade throughout this offseason. I think what did he win? He won one of the awards.
Selfless
for the team.
Warrior Award. They created it for him.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, and then again, he talked about, how he's going to be a tough out at the left tackle job. But do you feel like the comments from Becton that he made a couple weeks ago about how he didn't want to play at right tackle, the coaching staff said, you got to, fight through it. He told him that his knee was hurting and then he got hurt. Like, do you feel like that maybe set the coaching staff off a little bit? And maybe that's even why they're favoring Dwayne
100%.
Brown, not just because his past experience, but even because of that. It seems like there's kind of a rift there,
Because
between
he hasn't played in 2
Becton
years,
and
dude.
yeah, exactly.
Wait,
Yeah, he hasn't played
just
a game in front of Jets fans.
he hasn't. I mean, he played down in Carolina. He got hurt right in front of it. He hasn't played in 2
Mhm.
years. They gave him every benefit of the doubt. He came to camp out of shape last year, and
Yep.
he started blaming the coaches for playing him at right tackle.
Mhm.
Like, dude, you weren't in shape. You were getting sick, and you got hurt,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But then, how can you, when you haven't played in 2 years, say, "I want this, I want that"? Dude, you got to earn. You got to prove that you can get to camp.
Mhm.
And the
Yep.
thing is, like I'll keep saying, man, he did such a good job how the fans rally around him, man. He lost all the weight. He's being all positive on social media. He did all the right things until he said, "I'm a left tackle. I'm this. The
Mhm.
coaches got me
Yep.
hurt." And you're like, dude, this is where it goes south. And
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm rooting for him. Like, listen, if he dominates the right tackle, it's great for the Jets. He can get a big contract somewhere else. I don't think it's going to be here, but it's unfortunate, man. And it just makes you wonder, man, because you just gotta hope. There's a lot of ifs with the offensive line. If Dwayne Brown's
Mhm.
healthy, if Lakin Tomlinson plays better, if Tippmann can handle playing center, if AVT comes back healthy, if
Yeah.
Becton could, like, there's a lot. If you're being honest, there is. And the only saving grace is that Aaron Rodgers isn't gonna hold on the ball for forever. He'll get rid of the ball
Mhm.
quick. He's not gonna take big hits,
Yep.
so that helps.
And under pressure, he's going to be a lot calmer than like Zach or anybody else would be.
Yep.
If the pocket does collapse. But you can't even. I'm not even going to bring up the potential like if he would to go down because of the offensive line.
Oh,
That would be brutal. I mean, that would be again
that'd be
like
the end.
I feel like we always go into the off season. Like we've got a lot of depth at the O line, but it's a lot of like Billy Turner's good,
Yep.
and they got that Kajust guy who probably will be on the practice squad, but it's like that's one thing's depth. Depth is one thing. That's great, but you've got to have a solid 5 guys up front, and there's definitely potential to have that, but it's definitely there's the potential that it goes the opposite way. It's going to be interesting to see if Rodgers wants Tippmann though, having like a McGovern under center instead of a rookie. It would be interesting to see if he has any kind of preference on that. A veteran as opposed to a rookie in front of him. I don't know if that means a ton. I mean, I know some of us mentioned it when they were looking at JMS, which was obviously another the prospect, but I liked him, and man, I hope he's like the next Mangold. I mean, he's got the flow with the mullet. Like if he can be our center for the next 10 years or whatever, I know that's really long, but
That'd be
like
perfect.
that'd be perfect. Yeah, exactly. And we haven't had one since we had Ryan Khalil, right, and
Oh, it's
then
been a disaster, man.
who else? We've had so many.
So
It's
wait,
been
more importantly,
the
how is
entire organization's been a disaster up to this point until now. But
More importantly, how is your show doing, man? You're cranking out all kinds of content, baseball content, this content, you do all kinds of stuff.
mhm.
How is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time of year. Yeah, I got the baseball podcast, and then I've got my all sports one on YouTube, and then I've got the Jets one, which is pretty good. Trying to kind of figure out with the Jets podcast schedule coming up. Definitely plan on maybe incorporating some live streams on my regular channel, but now with the 40 days where there's not much news, maybe a couple, hopefully the Quan signing, would love to get Quan signed, hopefully the Quinnen extension gets,
Yep.
gets done here within the next couple weeks. So you'll have that obviously to talk about, but these 40 days are kind of rough, but yeah, I have the baseball stuff every weekend with the Yankees and the Mets, so that hasn't been, obviously that hasn't been great for either team. It's been rough, but any of the Jeff stuff's been really cool. Just the recap in the OTAs, Solace press conferences, any other news they've got.
So how can everybody find you? Where do they
so
look up?
yeah, so for the sports one, it's just Bubs on Sports on YouTube. I changed the name a little while ago. It was BSN Network, but that was too boring, so I changed it. The baseball one's Bubs Talking Baseball, and the Jets one's In the Trench with Gang Green, and those both are on Apple Podcasts. The one on YouTube's only on YouTube. I probably one day will get it up on Apple Podcasts, but not currently. It's just on YouTube. But yep, just Jets baseball, bunch of other stuff. And
Well, Bubs,
yeah, really
thanks for
appreciate you
calling in,
guys
man. I
supporting
appreciate
me
it.
and stuff.
No,
So
you're doing great,
yeah.
dude. I try to help you much as I can. So
Mhm.
thanks for coming on. I
Yep,
appreciate
thanks. Yep, thanks for having me on. Have a good one.
it. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I'm trying to line up some guests for every Monday night. We'll have a different guest. Try to keep cranking out content, and I'll talk to you guys later.